joining the RapidScale webinar series for our second month of 2016. We're super excited to have you guys on the line with us today, and we got a special little treat at the end of the webinar today, so definitely stay on, stay all the way through, and take advantage of being registered for this webinar and get a special little spiff for some folks at the end of the call today. So as normal, my name is Mark Sadkowski, and I am the president of RapidScale, and I am super excited to be presenting what we believe is one of the top topics that we can do for our sales partners around the globe, and that's targeting the C-suite, right? How are we selling to the C-suite? What are we doing today? What's been successful throughout the organization, and how you can take advantage of some of this. So it really should be a great webinar for all of us on the call today, and we're super excited. As always, I have Stephanie Ryan, our Director of Marketing, on with us today. So Stephanie will be manning your questions, and she'll also be keeping me on track and make sure that we make the best use of your time today. With that, I've got 9:01. And we have a good amount of attendees on, so we'll go ahead and kick this off and get it started today. A couple of quick housekeeping items for you all. As always, the entire presentation is being recorded, and it will be up on the partner portal within 24 hours. Everybody who's registered for the event today will receive a email with a copy of the presentation, so you guys can use it. You don't have to take frantic notes today. We'll send all of it to you. And hopefully, as I mentioned at the beginning, this will be a great webinar for everybody. We really think this is something that can help people drive business and drive more cloud business to your customers. So with that being said, the C-suite is definitely where we like to target when we sell cloud. Not always available for us, guys. We know that we have businesses of all sizes out there through our partners, all vertical industries. And, you know, when we can get to the C-suite, we see our closing percentage rise dramatically. And these are really the folks who are interested in the topics that we're going to cover today. So different kind of conversations with IT managers, IT directors, to when you're talking to CFOs, CEOs, and CIOs and CTOs. And really, what are these folks looking for? So we've got a couple of great statistics here for you guys. And again, I don't like to read directly off the slide, but looking at the size of growth in 2015 in infrastructure as a service, this is relevant to all of us. It continues to grow year over year, with expected spend to be $34 billion in 2018, and that number is just astonishing. Considering that, you know, everybody's worried, you know, a lot of customers may not want to go to the cloud. What we've really found is if they can outsource it and get as good or better service with productivity increase, efficiency increase, most customers are looking at making this move and handing this off to companies like RapidScale. So we know you all have a lot of providers to utilize when you're sitting in front of customers, and we truly hope we get an opportunity to sit at the table with you when we go see those clients. And this is a huge part of growth for our industry, guys. We have a lot of traditional telecommunications partners and traditional VARs and MSPs who have not quite jumped onto the managed services cloud offerings yet. You're not too late. Look at the increase that we're expecting to see over the coming years, and we obviously continue that increase. We think it will continue to grow beyond 2018 as technology continues to get better for these customers. So let's start off. You know, what are they really looking for? And I think most of you will agree that costs are always central to the C-level suite of any business. They're always looking at ways that they can lower their cost or increase their profitability. And IT as a service is certainly a focus for most businesses. And they'll continue to focus here and try to squeeze everything they can out of this part of their business, right? Get more for what they're spending today, or try to cut costs in the IT spend. So that being said, we typically don't go into a client and promise them cost savings. That's not the IT model. Most customers out there have budgets for IT, and they understand that IT is a needed expense for their business. but they are trying to avoid those major costs. So just think major costs. If you're talking to a mid-market business, just say 100 to 500 employees, that IT budget for capital is expensive, guys. It's big. And they're typically refreshing every 3 to 5 years nowadays. But as you all know, IT is a very dynamic part of any business. And by dynamic, I mean it changes consistently. So it's not just the big infrastructure costs that they have to pay for every 3 to 5 years, but it's adding to that throughout that budgeted period. So really, when we're avoiding major costs, we're trying to allow our customers to scale better and really utilize their resources. That's a big part of what cloud and managed services allows your customers to do. Allows them to scale and pay for what they need. We refer to this as a consumption model. And it is continuing to get more and more focused from larger companies, mid-market companies, small enterprises, and enterprises. So it's something you want to be aware of, and it's something you want to be able to have a very candid conversation with your customers about. And we hope that the presentation today will give you some really good tools to go ahead and move forward and have that kind of a conversation with them. We would certainly be remiss if we did not talk about how businesses are taking advantage of infrastructure as a service, managed services, desktop as a service when it comes to mobility for their employees. That's a big part of the cloud, as you all are aware. We live in a world today where a lot of us have smartphones, and we're streaming applications to those smartphones, be them personal or be them business, right? That continues where our business is going. So don't just think about the overall cost. Always think about how productivity can be increased and how efficiencies of the workforce can be increased as well, because these are the things that your C-level suite want to talk about with you. Security is always a big part to these decision makers, right? They're always wanting to make sure that the security of their data, the security of their applications is of paramount concern. And that's what the cloud allows us to do with a lot of these customers. As you all know, when you're with a cloud company like RapidScale, we have everything extremely protected. It's all behind high-end firewalls with a lot of encryption that is securing that customer's data. So where 4 years ago, 5 years ago, customers were very nervous about moving their data to the cloud, it certainly has become part of mainstream today. They're not nearly as nervous as they used to be. And we are constantly sharing with our customers our levels of encryption, how their data is encrypted in flight and at rest. And, our encryption levels are government grade. So the majority of the customers out there today are seeing an increase in security when they're moving to a cloud company like RapidScale. But they are going to ask you questions about it, and you do have to be ready to talk about it. One of the things that continues to grow is big data, right? The Internet of Things, as it's referred to a lot today, and this is not going to change, guys. We foresee big data continuing to grow. We see it every day in our customer base, where our customers are organically growing and requiring more data and more data because they want to store everything, right? And then they have the analytical tools to go in there and look at what that data means to them. And I think that one of the most relevant sources that we can all point to are the big social media sites, your LinkedIn's, your Facebook's, right? They are farming and mining that data constantly to try to figure out how to advertise to you as the individual consumer. And you're going to see this continue to grow in all industries. How can I provide a better service based on the needs and the requirements of my customers, right? So I'll give you a quick example. In the hospitality world, I'm sure everybody has gotten out and stayed in a hotel in the last year or so, or if you haven't, hopefully you will in the next year. It's just amazing how much better those hospitality companies, especially the big brand names, know how to market to you as an individual user and as a business as well. They now know what floor you want to be on, where you want your room to be, if you travel with family or if you travel alone on business. All of these things are within their data, and they're trying to make that customer experience something that's more particular to you as their consumer. And again, that's not going to change. And don't be shocked when you're sitting talking to a customer that you might not think is interested in big data. They do want to know about it, and they do want to talk to people about it. If you're not comfortable with that yet, that's fine. We are. So, involve us with those clients. Those of you who've been on our webinars before, you know that our style is what we call shoulder-to-shoulder selling. Our channel managers and leaders will jump on calls with you and help you get through discovery if that's where you need help. They'll help you design solutions if that's where you need help. Whatever pieces of the puzzle you're not really comfortable with today, we have the resources and the team here at RapidScale to help you be more successful and get you over that, first couple of calls where you're just not super confident yet. And we'll continue to do that for the foreseeable future with all of our partners. So don't be shy. Reach out to your channel leaders. Reach out to our engineers, our sales engineers, myself, our marketing department. We're all here as your team. And, we're successful with your success. So that's how we've grown our company over the last 8 years, and that's how we'll continue to grow our company into the future. So ROI with applications. You all know what ROI is. It's return on investment, right? And return on investment within applications is paramount to the decision makers that sit in the C-suite. They're always looking at, if I spend X amount of dollars on this, what kind of a return am I going to get? So you've got to be willing to have that conversation and speak to them with that type of a language. Again, we go back to where are our hot buttons for our C-levels, and this is not new to anybody on the call. You've all sold to owners of businesses, and you've all sold to presidents and CFOs of businesses at some point within your career. But these are really what drive these folks and what make them make decisions. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's coming down to. How are you selling them more services, making that customer more sticky to you? And if you follow our philosophy, we don't look for customers for contracts. We look for customers for life. And when you can sell a solid solution to a business that impacts their return on their investment, that impacts their overhead, those customers don't leave you often. They like to stay with you for a very long time, and they make you a trusted advisor to their business. And that's a big part of where this industry is going and where we see more and more success coming from our sales partners around the globe. It's the ones who get in there and sell the solution to the client that are getting the deals. They're signing the big ticket deals with us, and we expect that to continue. Within reducing overhead, one of the biggest things on overhead when you're talking about managed services, ladies and gentlemen, is labor, right? Labor is a big part that a lot of those customers aren't thinking about at the top of their head when you're coming in to sit to them and talk to them about virtual desktops. But it is a big decision-making factor once you get into the meat of the discussion. We see consistently businesses trying to get more out of IT, trying to have technology drive their business to the next level. All of this technology needs people working on it. It needs people maintaining it, keeping it up, keeping it patched, keeping it running. And that's one of the biggest benefits of moving to an as-a-service model with us. These customers are coming to us and saying, why wouldn't I move all of my servers onto your platform? Why wouldn't I want to have everything being managed by a company that has teams of engineers managing this for me on a daily basis? It allows them to eliminate a big part of their labor cost or redirect that labor cost into profitable sides of IT for their business. If this is a stretch for you and you're sitting here saying, I don't really understand how they're making that jump, Mark, please reach out to us again. Reach out to your channel managers around the country. Reach out to the team. We've got literally dozens of white papers and case studies that show you how customers took their IT team, repurposed individuals who were working on infrastructure into other parts of their IT organization, and were able to take a nice chunk out of that labor and turn it into profit versus just pure labor and keeping that infrastructure up. On top of that, we continue to see folks moving to the OpEx model. The CapEx model versus OpEx model, if you've been on our webinars before, you've heard me say this a few times. CFOs like OpEx, guys. They don't like purchasing things that aren't running as close to 100% utilization as possible. They like scalability. They like to be able to know that they're in that consumption mind frame. So this is a big part of why they make the transition to the cloud. And they may not be able to make the whole thing at once, right? It may start off with one piece of their business, one application, such as Exchange. And we start with that piece, and we prove ourselves to them on how, A, it's more reliable, B, it's up and running all the time like it was promised to be, C, they see that savings in their labor side of the house, and then they start looking at you and saying, well, I have these other applications that I'd like to talk about moving to the cloud, and that's really what we call our organic growth strategy. I had he's not an old sales trainer, he's a sales trainer, but we've been around we've been around a long time, so I'll call us both old. Dan used to say, sell everybody something, right? Get that relationship started. When you start that relationship at the C-suite and you stay entwined with them and you grow that rapport with them, you are going to pick up more and more business from them as time goes on. Inventing revenue, big part for IT departments today. They're no longer just being tasked with keeping the internal network up and running so that their people can work, but now they're being asked to have technology make the company money, right? And that's really why people are leaning on technology. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it to be more efficient and more productive. Those turn into bottom line numbers for organizations. So the IT team is constantly now being pushed. How can we make more revenue out of IT that we're doing every day? And we see this across all vertical industries, from manufacturing to hospitality to healthcare to financial. So it's a big piece of the strategy, and you want to be able to have a good conversation with them about that. We touched on the support strategy. I'll touch on it one more time. You know, once they can move a big portion of this off to our support team, that's great for these IT managers, right? You've got the IT manager who's worried about his job or his technicians' jobs, but they're more concerned about that infrastructure being up running 24/7 by 365. I'm out in Raleigh, North Carolina with Andrew Lauder, who's one of our channel managers on the East Coast, and we just had this conversation with a couple of partners today about how IT managers and IT directors love the fact that they can pick up the phone and call somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, we see a problem here, can you help us out with it? That's just an extension of their team, and when you position it this way to those folks who are doing the day-to-day business, they're not as resistant in listening to how the change is going to impact them and eventually help them. And that's how we've gained so much business over the last few years for sure, but since the business has really been since our inception. And then always moving from a reactive to a proactive stance. This is big, guys. IT people don't want to pick up the phone and call you when they have a problem. They want you to know there's a problem there. They want you to be proactive about resolving that problem as quickly as possible and keeping them up and running. So that's a big challenge for most IT teams. If you sit and you talk to the CIO, they'll tell you they're understaffed and they're overworked. They don't have enough resources to help them do what they need to do. Cloud managed services helps them solve that problem. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little, there we go. ROI of the cloud application, what drives cloud faster time to value, right? So this is something we've talked about in the past, and it's always relative to these webinars and discussions. Whenever you're looking at a cloud solution, if you're looking at it and you're designing that solution correctly, the upfront costs are always going to be lower because you're not coming out of pocket for that huge capital investment. Your speed to deployment, that's a big piece of this, guys. When you move to a managed services provider, and we've got a slide on this later, so I won't steal all the thunder from that other slide, but you can deploy these applications much more quickly. And again, back to the point of why are customers spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on applications? It's because they're looking for that internal rate of return on what that application is going to bring to their business. And that's something that's not going to change. It's certainly not going to decrease. It's going to increase in demand from those customers. How do we go to newer versions, right? How do we deploy into new versions? Reduce support needs, better utilization of resources. All of these pieces come to play with your customers who are sitting at the top of the food chain. Remember, the reason we like to sell to the C-suite, we like to sell to the executives of the company, at the end of the day, if we make an impact to them, if they're an enterprise customer and they see 2% impact to their productivity, that's huge. That's a big number for those customers. If they're a small to medium-sized business and we can make them more efficient, or we can take off a part of that workload from their internal IT staff and do it for them, that's a big that's a big employee satisfaction benefit to those customers. So we continue to focus on these core pieces of ROI towards cloud applications, and it's not going to slow down. We expect to see more and more customers making the move in the future. And as the first slide pointed out today, that growth, that's a big growth from year over year. And there are no signs of that growth slowing down in the near future. So here's the timeline that I love. I love this slide that Stephanie put up. It's a great slide. This is just your traditional hardware purchase versus cloud. Really, when you're looking at customers making decisions on putting new applications into their environment, when you start to look at that timeline to make all of this effective, right? And the effectiveness is, when does it impact the customers and their bottom line, or when does it impact their top line number? Traditionally, if you're doing a traditional hardware purchase, I mean, look at this, guys. You're looking at anywhere from 6 months to almost a year to do a big deployment on new applications. First you determine what kind of an application it's going to be. Most of that goes through RFP processes with multiple vendors. Those vendors then give you hardware requirements. Then you go out to do an RFP on the hardware. And all of these things we're not talking days, we're talking weeks to have these things take place. Once you get to that RFP type of a decision process, that can, as you all know on the call, everybody's been involved in RFPs at some point in their career. They can be some of the biggest wins we ever get, which is fantastic for everybody on the phone. But they can also be some of the biggest disappointments, right? When you run that RFP and you sit there at the end of the day and you're down to 3 finalists, and you're representing one of the finalists and you don't win. That's a big strain on your internal resources and on your overall profitability as a sales partner, right? Your business is impacted by that. When we continue to grow these customers and we continue to work with them, and we start sharing with them the difference between rolling this out via the cloud and rolling this out via the cloud and rolling this out via a hardware application, we find that customers are very open to this, and we are speaking their language, right? So what we find with these clients as we work with them over and over is, when you can talk about shortening that time frame from 6, 7, 8 months to 3 months, that is something that excites them. That's something that they look at and say, this makes sense. So if you're unclear on this, and guys, this is just a standard picture, right? We're not making any guarantees here. We're not saying that every hardware procurement and application deployment is going to take 7 months. There are those that can go much quicker. But we are saying that if they're rolling that through a managed services provider, those servers, those virtual machines, those resources, which is the underlying compute, the underlying storage, the operating system license, all of that is ready for them now. So if they make their decisions and they pull the trigger, we're just literally probably months ahead of them to where they would be at if they did it a traditional hardware purchase. So again, take advantage of the team, have conversations with them, and get to understand this better if it's not something that you're very comfortable with today. Scalability, guys, this is a big key to your CIOs and your CTOs. This is about how quickly we can scale with their business and how quickly we can go the other way if they need to go the other way. Traditionally, if you go out and you purchase servers from Dell or Cisco, and you've made that purchase, and then the business grows 250%, traditionally that's going to take another hardware procurement cycle to keep up with that growth. When you're in the cloud, that is no longer an issue because we can grow our customers 2, 3, 4 times by them just coming to us and saying, we need to increase these resources. And of course, we have customers who are larger, enterprise customers who have full access to all of the underlying infrastructure, and they can go in and make those changes themselves through the very easy to manage portal that we set up for those customers. So all of it comes back to time to market, right? That's really what this is. How quickly can I get my new application, my new product, my new service to market internally to my business? Again, think about those customers that you have where you are the trusted advisor to the owner, the president, the CEO, the CFO. Do these conversations resonate with them? And I hope that most of you agree that they do. For those of you who have traditionally sold boxes in the past, it allows, when I say boxes, I mean physical servers, guys. This allows you to get above that buying level that you've been at in the past and start talking strategy. And strategy is what helps customers get to the next level. And strategy is what makes you a valuable resource to them. So don't discount that part of the model and take advantage of it when you have those relationships today. So what's another big factor that is right in front of the faces of our decision makers in the corner office? BYOD and flex work, telework, all of these things are coming to light very quickly. BYOD, for those of you who aren't familiar with the acronym, bring your own device. I can tell you all very candidly that in the last year and a half we have had an increase in these conversations with the ownership of companies 5-6 fold. And there's a lot of reasoning behind that. A big part of it is employee satisfaction, right? And when you think about employee satisfaction, all you need to do is think about the new employee coming out of college who's going to work for the company, who has 3 or 4 devices already that can connect to the internet and thus connect to the corporate WAN. They'd rather use the devices that they're comfortable with, and organizations are listening to this, and they're stepping up and saying, yes, let's do this. It makes sense for us, it makes sense for our employees, and it makes our employees happy. So BYOD, really big driver on where we're at. Just quick housekeeping for those of you who joined a little bit late. Please stay on till the end of the call today. There's a special little spiff for some folks who want to go after it. And also the presentation will be emailed to everybody registered today, and we'll also have it up on the partner portal. It's being recorded so that you can go and pull it down and share it with your teams if you'd like. So realigning IT objectives. The shift to the cloud is real. It's here, guys. We've seen a huge growth. I mean, you got to love this. Gartner predicts that it'll be $207 billion industry by the end of 2016. That's 100% growth rate, guys, and we all know Gartner is a very solid deliverer of these statistics. So, again, if you're not fully entrenched in this yet, please start getting fully entrenched because it's going to be a big money maker for you all. And I think everybody who's on this call today is on here to increase their revenues and increase, your commission. So infrastructure, it moves the infrastructure as a service. It's certainly our biggest revenue stream today as an organization, and the more I talk with my competitors, it's their biggest revenue stream as well. And again, it's going mainstream, guys. So where folks were in the past nervous about doing this, it's just not early adopters anymore. It's businesses of all sizes, all makes, all industries who see the value in moving that infrastructure over to a managed service provider like RapidScale. A cloud solutions provider like RapidScale. Don't not have the conversation with them, guys. That conversation is being had with them, so make sure you are in the middle of it and that you can pick up that business when and if it's ready for those customers to make that transition. When we start moving in bulk over to the cloud, we're creating new positions, right? You now have cloud product managers, cloud consultants, network managers, cloud engineers. All of these are being much more relative in the IT human resources bucket, right? We have several employees who have come to us as engineers from other companies who said, bottom line, my old company is moving everything to the cloud, so I need to have that on my resume, and I'd much rather be in a company that's going to continue to grow than be in a company where, every quarter I'm putting more and more stuff on the cloud, which eventually means, those jobs will be realigned, and, unfortunately, a lot of those jobs will be dispatched. It's part of the real world, and your IT managers and technicians are very aware of that today. On that same factor, IT is never going away, guys. The smaller businesses, those SMB businesses, they're looking for a full turnkey solution. A lot of them are looking to get everything into the cloud and no longer have IT anywhere within their organization. The other end of that spectrum is your enterprise customers. They're looking at moving parts of their business to the cloud, maybe not all of it, but they're keeping the IT staffs on because somebody always has to be there to keep an eye on this and keep it working. Remember, it's a dynamic environment. So it never sits still, and the bigger you are, the more dynamic that environment is, and the more it changes. So you have to have people on staff who are working at meeting those demands and meeting the objectives of the C-suite. The disaster recovery efforts, obviously, we have no 100% automation failover within our products and services today. It always requires somebody giving the signal that we want to fail everything over, and we do that for several reasons. But the biggest reason being that people work on servers, they come offline, and if something fails over when it's offline, failing it back is not always the easiest task, especially if it wasn't a planned failover. So another space where those IT people are always going to be relative to businesses. The on-site networks, troubleshooting of devices, all of these pieces will never go away. There will continue to be needs for IT within those organizations. That may be internal to the company, it may be their own staff, or it may be an outsourced third-party IT technology company, MSP, VAR, who's doing these things for them. So they're never going to go away. The new IT objectives, again, how do we refocus those people within the organization? How do they make the business more profitable? And remember, profit comes from top-line growth. It also comes from bottom-line savings. So profitability is key to all businesses. So how do we take advantage of big data, right? How do we strategize with our internal groups to make IT more of a resource to the company than it is today? And we've definitely got a great slide on that coming up when we start talking about what the CIOs are looking for. So the sales process, right? Who do we target? Today you have the consultant, right? That's a branded term for us. We identify who the decision maker is, and then we go in and we start speaking to those people, right? And this is a big key, guys, because that conversation is different depending on who you're speaking to. When you're in that C-level suite versus that IT manager, that's why we have this reference up there. It's a big differentiation, right? The IT manager is not always worried about the overall profitability of the business. They may have no say in that. Most don't. The CFO, the CIO, and the CEO certainly do. So know your audience. So the IT manager, we all know what they do. I still think one of the challenges that most folks who are in the industry would say today is, my IT manager is worried about their job, right? They're worried that if they move things to the cloud, they're going to be out of a job. And we have shown over and over again that's not the truth. Those IT managers in those larger companies are very much safe and secure. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are happy to make the change because they're benefiting from new information on their resume, right? They're still managing IT. They're just doing it on our platform. So they get a lot of benefits out of working on our platform versus working on their own platform. So they're not afraid. They're not as afraid of losing their job as they were before. But you have to know that it's something in the back of their mind. So you have to be the one who makes them comfortable in helping them make the decision to moving to a cloud managed service application. Cloud managed service platform is a better terminology. And remember, when the IT manager is looking at making these changes, they're certainly not looking at it as a CEO would, right? They're looking at it a different way. They're saying, what's my impact, and how do I keep my team intact? So be ready to have that conversation. CFOs, these are my favorite. I love talking to CFOs, and it's probably because I graduated a long time ago from college with a degree in finance. But CFOs are the most fun to talk to when you can get them to sit down and talk with you, because these are the number crunchers. These are the bean counters. We all know that. The CFOs are the folks who are looking at the overall IT budget and how they can minimize that budget or leverage more technology. So really, when you're talking with them, you want to get deep into the financials of what they're doing and how they run their IT organization today. And you would be shocked at how many CFOs are deeply entwined in that IT part of the business. And the reason is simply this: it's one of the biggest expenditures on their balance sheet every year. And if you're the CFO of a company, you want to control your spend. So you look at where your largest areas of spend and you focus on those. Fairly rudimentary, but always a good point to bring up on a webinar like this. They're also looking for the competitive advantage, right? One of the great things that I've seen partners out there do is win business within a vertical industry and then go out and target other businesses in that same vertical into that CFO and sit there and talk to them about the competitive advantage that one of their competitors has now taken by moving to the cloud. So, good old-fashioned sales technique there. Changing business demands, of course, they're always aware of these, and time to market, because again, all impacts to your profitability, to your balance sheet, time of market impacts that, and CFOs are very akin and astute to this. Your CIOs, we love CIOs. These guys are fun because CIOs are typically overworked and undermanned. So most CIOs we talk to, if you've ever been on a call with me and you've set us up to talk to the CIO, one of my opening questions, one of my probing questions for them always comes around, when's the last time you went and sat with your other department heads within your company and asked them how IT and technology can benefit their department? And the answer, the overwhelming answer that we get on a regular basis is not since I started with the company, but it's something I would love to do, if not quarterly, at least annually. If you can start to offload some of that work for the CIO, you can get them more focused on the processes, what impacts the business, how the technology impacts the business. This is the reason they became CIOs, guys. They're very intelligent people, and they want to help their businesses. They want to help them grow, and they're obviously the biggest advocates of technology. So don't be afraid to have that conversation with the CIO. So is that the CIO twice? Yes, sorry guys. Productivity on all levels, that's definitely something that the CIO is always looking for. They're looking at how can we get more out of what we have today, or how can a new technology or a new infrastructure give me more than what I have today. And again, when you start looking at businesses that are very restrained in their budgeting, right, they don't do refreshes all that often. Think about that, hardware refreshes. If they're doing them every 5 years and they move their business to a cloud computing company like RapidScale who refreshes every 30 to 34 months, that's an inherent benefit for them. They know they're going to be on the best hardware with the best software and keep moving forward, and they don't have to go fight and struggle with their CFO to get those budgets approved. And at the end of the day, all of this comes back to technology, and the CIO has to meet those business demands. Be it if that business demand is, we just brought a new product to market, and oh my gosh, we need to increase, 250 salespeople because we're going to see a huge uptick. The CIO is responsible for getting all of those 250 salespeople on the network up to speed with the devices, get them running, and get them being productive. So their reach goes very deep within the organization. The CEOs. Man, we love CEOs, right? These are the big decision makers of the organization, and very honestly, the hardest people to get in front of, most of the time, I should say. Those of you who have great customers who you've worked with for years, and I know a lot of you on the call have had customers you've worked with for 5 or 10 years, and you're in at the CEO level. Believe me when I tell you, these guys are always focused on getting the company to the next level, and all of them are aware of technology. They're aware of how the technology is impacting their business and their industry specifically, and they want to be educated, and they want to be brought up to speed, and they don't want to be behind the curve. We continue to see more and more CEOs involved with, or at least signing off on the final decision to move to the cloud. And as you all know, if you can pick up a CEO and you have them and you're their trusted advisor, when you go and ask for that referral, it's always nice because they know a lot of other CEOs that they can introduce you to. So if we can get to the very top, work at the very top, guys. It's a great place to be. And at the end of the day, the CEOs, they have ultimate responsibility for the overall organization. So all parts of the other C-level suite roll to the CEO, and they have to be aware of it. And while they're not experts in those other departments within their company, they can be, but generally they're not. They hire other experts to be there, but they have to be able to speak intelligently about financials with the CFO, have to be able to speak intelligently about technology with the CIO, right? So if we can get there, we want to be there. It's a very strong place for us to work. I don't know if you all saw a couple of the little things up here, the D, the I, the S, the C. So a little treat for those of you who are true sales professionals. This is DISC profiling. And I don't know how many of you on the call have ever gone through any type of a profiling for your company in the past. If you've worked for a large corporation in the early 2000s, chances are you went through some type of a personality profile during your onboarding or during your interview process. DISC is one that I love. And it really is to get you to the next level of being a sales professional. And I can't see anybody, so I'm hoping that some people out there know what I'm talking about. But when you start talking about DISC, it really is about how to sell to each of the different personalities that you come and you are introduced to, right? And this is just typical. It's certainly not the guarantee for every person within the organization that they're going to fall into one of these. Typically, when you do a DISC profile of somebody, it's arrows that go up and down a board. And personality types typically seem to stay in the same categories. So D is for dominance, right? And if you think about this right now, who are the dominant people within an organization in the C-suite? It's the decision makers, guys. Typically your most dominant are your CFOs and your CEOs because these folks are making decisions every single day that impact the overall health of the business. They do not want to sit around and waste time on these, and that's why you see your sales cycle shorten so much when you get into speaking to these types of individuals. Dominant people want to make a decision. They make it very quickly, and they don't worry about what the outcome of that decision is. If it's a wrong decision, they fix it. And when you're the CEO of a company, you can imagine not every decision you make is right. So you have to be able to go back in and fix it, and that dominant quality comes through in there as well. They're always motivated by winning. They want to beat their competition. They're certainly competitive most of the time. People who are Ds have a good competitive streak in them. A lot of them have a past part of their lives where they were a competitive athlete or competitive in some type of a personal endeavor, and those come through in them making decisions within the organization. Your I's are your influencers, right? These are the people who are very good at selling. Most sales folks who are on this call today have a very high I. Your influencers, you sit down, you listen, you take notes, and you present solutions, and you influence your customers to buy your products and services. Influence is key in selling services and selling internally to the rest of the organizations. Your S's, this is your steadiness, guys. Motivated by cooperations, give support, calm, patient. They're indecisive, predictable, and deliberate, right? These folks are typically found, this quality is found within HR, this quality is found within engineering, this quality is found in the non-extroverts, right? Steadiness is somebody who can sit there and take a back seat and, will speak when spoken to. Your conscientiousness, man, these are your IT managers, guys. Your IT managers, so your CIOs typically have a lot of S and C in them. Your IT managers will have a heck of a lot of C in them. These are the conscientious guys. These guys worry about everything working. They don't like to be criticized. They know that at the end of the day, if something fails, it's going to fall back on them. So you have to know how to present to that C personality. You don't overwhelm them. You don't hard close them. You don't push them to make the decision. I always said C's like to see more, right? This is the guy who asks you for references and then white papers and then case studies, and then he wants to talk to those references, or she wants to see the data center. You all have sold to C's in your life. They're the longer sales cycles, right? When you win them, you generally win a customer for a long time. But they're the ones who put you through the ringer a lot. So the reason I put this little disc profiling in here is to get you to think that when you're sitting in front of whomever it is within the organization that you're positioning to, if you can sit back and really try to gauge who this person is by their mannerisms, by how they speak to you, by how their nonverbals when they're in the meeting with you, it will help you know how better to sell to them. And at the end of the day, we are all here to add more products and services to our customers, to our bases, to new prospects. And if you can be a level above the competition, you're going to win more deals. That's why a lot of salespeople who have that heavy D and that heavy I, they're really good at selling to CEOs and CFOs, but, they get booted out when they're in with the IT manager because she thinks that they overwhelm them, right? If you can better position yourself, you'll be more successful. So now I'm going to ask if there are any questions that we have on the webinar today, and then we'll close it out with this special little spiff for everybody who is on today and sat through to the end. I truly appreciate your time, and I want to make it. I'm just trying something out this time, guys, to see if it works for us. Were there any questions? You can raise your hand, or you can type a question in the question box. I'll give it a minute. Okay. It doesn't look like there are any questions, so I won't make you all sit on your hands and wait for the spiff. So I was thinking about this today. Spiffs get us all excited. They get us out and moving. So the whole presentation today was selling to the C-suite. So I want to put a spiff out for the first five of you who can set up a qualified, let's make sure we're clear here, a qualified call with one of my channel managers or myself, and get us on the phone with somebody who is a C-suite. And you can track this by sending them to me directly, guys. You all have my email. If you don't, it's mark@rapidscale.net. That's the easy one. That's Mark with a K. It'll be first come, first serve. First people who get us onto that call will get so the first 5 qualified C-level discussion who is interested in the cloud, who wants to make a move, or at least wants to is looking at some type of a project or something that we can all make a sale on here in the near future. We're going to put out a $100 gift card to the first 5 of you who can set up that call with one of our channel managers or myself. It'll be a $100 gift card after we do the meeting and we confirm it was a good qualified meeting. We'll drop that in the mail to you and send it out. Hopefully this will get you all thinking about your Rolodexes right now, or thinking about that customer or that prospect that you thought might be a good fit, but you weren't sure about how to broach it. Let us broach it with you. Let us jump on the call with you, and let us do some shoulder-to-shoulder selling and see if we can't close a deal or two. Again, if you're registered, you qualify, you can be a winner, and we'll take the first 5. So with that, appreciate everybody's time today. Wish you all the most success in the month of February. Hit it hard. Have a good month. Have a good first quarter. We appreciate your partnership, and if you have any feedback, please feel free to send it to Stephanie. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you all soon.